Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the Migration Waterfowl podcast. I really appreciate you all tuning in. Thank you for stopping back. I've got a great episode today. I've been following this organization on Instagram for a while now, kind of checking out his website lately. It's called 50 Ducks. Basically, they do some research, GPS tracking, and can't remember. They're up to quite a few hundred data points to this point. But wanted to have Greer Smith on here tonight and kind of explain all the details about what they got going on over there. How's it going tonight, Greer?
Hey Brian, it's going super well. I appreciate you having me on the show. It's an honor to be here.
Yeah, I appreciate you taking time out of your Sunday night to come over here and talk some ducks. And
Well, absolutely. Well, you caught me when you texted me and reminded me that we were doing it tonight. I was in the middle of pressure washing the deck, so I needed a break. It was good to be able to shut that off and come inside.
yeah, you must have the same weather pattern we've got going on a little further north of you here in Pennsylvania. We were getting our deck ready today as well.
Yeah, it's great minds think alike. It was a nice day. It was good to be outside. You got to do something.
So if you can do me a favor real quick, just give me a quick intro of who you are, where you're from, and what you do for a living for our listeners that may not be familiar with you.
Yeah, for sure. My name's Greer Smith. I'm from Middle Georgia, originally from Macon, Georgia. Went to the University of Georgia. Um, Lived here my whole life, and we, in the past 2 years, have started a venture called 50 Ducks. And our goal is to spread a love and appreciation for waterfowl and wetlands conservation to people across the country, kind of in a new way. We're using both existing data that's out there, repurposing it, creating a live stream using GPS data from telemetry devices on ducks, geese, tundra swans, and all sorts of other fun birds. And then we've partnered with organizations all over North America, from Oaxaca, Mexico, all the way to Kingsville, Ontario, where we can help fund some of these telemetry studies. And our big crusade is to teach school-age children about the magic that is waterfowl migration. And so that's a little bit about what 50 Ducks is, and I'm sure we can get more into the weeds of it as we go.
Absolutely. Yeah, thank you for that. Definitely want to get into the details, but I'm kind of curious how you got into this part of what waterfowl. Did you start out hunting with
Yeah,
family, or kind of come at it from an educational standpoint?
for sure. The natural world has played just a huge role in my life so far with my family. Grew up in a duck blind with my dad. Grew up in a deer stand with my grandfather. Still have the privilege to get to dove shoot and turkey hunt with my grandfather and my dad and my uncles, cousins, friends, and just the magic that is being outside. I like so many people, graduated college, joined corporate America. Well, I was a teacher for a brief period. Joined corporate America, and my love has always been the natural world. Spend all the time I can outside, and just we were hunting in Venice, Louisiana. Me and my dad go every year. Some years good, some years bad, right? One particular year, we had a guide who ran us up on a mud flat. So we we were stuck there all day waiting for the tide to come back in, and we were just looking at the sky, watching ducks fly around, and we got to talking, me and my dad, about some years the ducks are there, some years they're not, right? And why is that? So we asked that same question that every duck hunter in the world has always asked, which is, where are the ducks? Why aren't they here now? Why are they here sometimes? Coincidentally, shortly thereafter, I saw an article in Ducks Unlimited for Paul Link, a researcher out of Louisiana who was doing some of these telemetry studies. He was one of the early guys to really get into it. He's been doing them forever. Um, Started reading some of the published papers that he put out, called him, went out there, helped him on a banding expedition just as a volunteer. Kind of fell in love with the idea, and that led us down a couple year rabbit hole to now, where we finally started banding with partner organizations, helping fund some of these studies and trying to spread the word about how cool it is. Because I thought it was instantly just the coolest thing in the world to see what ducks do, where they move hour by hour, day by day. And so we're trying to spread that knowledge to interested, observers across North America.
So you mentioned waterfowl hunting in Louisiana. Did you
Yes,
mess
sir.
around waterfowl hunting in Georgia at all? Or
We do. We
okay,
Georgia is you have to be really dedicated to try and kill a duck in the state of Georgia. We don't have a lot of ducks. We kill mainly what you kill here are wood ducks.
hmm
But so when people say they're going, duck hunting, most of what they are doing is going to try and shoot a few wood ducks. Um, we have a bunch of local geese in some part in middle Georgia. There are a good many local geese. They got reintroduced uh, back in the 80s. But get a few teal, but you don't have a ton of really good ducks. You have some on the coast. We were really fortunate growing up. We had a honey hole in Macon that's since gone dry. I wrote a blog about it on the website called I-16. We killed some big ducks there for a number of years, beaver ponds, but for the most part, you don't. Georgia's not a great duck hunting state. Got some real people who are really into it, but we're not spoiled here. Really got to work for them.
yeah, I can relate to that. Being in Western Pennsylvania,
Yeah,
I'm only 20 minutes from the Ohio line, so we're literally right in the middle of the Mississippi Flyway and the Atlantic Flyway. So
yeah,
it's kind of a struggle, but we get a little bit of help from the Great Lakes and some of our bigger river systems that flow south from there. So,
right.
but I can definitely relate to being a waterfowler in a state that's not the easiest place to hunt them.
Right. It's fun. It's more fun when you're really in them, but it's still fun to just be out there and kill what you can kill and see what you can see. But yeah, it gives you an appreciation for it, and you kind of look down your nose at folks who are in these, in the Arkansas and the Missouris and the Dakotas who just have it made. And the ducks are going to be there, but
Sure.
they face their own problems. They probably just get tired of people like me coming out there trying to kill their ducks.
Yeah, that's for sure. And it's definitely region specific, and the struggle is whatever you got going on at the time. You mentioned Arkansas. Some of my friends out there starting to struggle with some of the mallard short stopping and the warmer
Right.
temperatures not coming down. So I'm sure everybody has their battles everywhere.
The grass is always greener. So
Right,
that's
right.
just how it is.
So kind of walk us through, how 50 Ducks came about and how you got to where you are today with it.
Yeah, for sure. Well, as I mentioned, it all kind of started from that conversation with my dad. Stuck on a mud flat, went down a rabbit hole, and started reaching out to these researchers in North America. There aren't, it's a big, small community, I guess. There are a couple of dozen researchers, state organizations, colleges, DNRs, Ducks Unlimited Delta, but there aren't a tremendous number of people who can do these telemetry studies. It's a tremendous amount of licenses, and it's a very expensive undertaking, and it's all being done for the greater scientific good. A lot of these projects are for master's theses, PhD dissertations. A lot of them go into U.S. Fish and Wildlife for various studies that they're trying to do, bag limits, you name it. That's kind of what these studies are trying to do. We're coming at it from a different angle, an educational angle, right? We're trying to use this telemetry data as a tool to help raise funds from both duck hunters and from bird watchers, from a part of the community who doesn't, as of now, contribute nearly as much to wetlands preservation as duck hunters do. Trying to get them engaged with wetlands conservation, because it does so much more than just protecting ducks and geese. Water birds, songbirds, everything
Sure.
benefits from that. So we're kind of coming at 50 ducks from a hunter first perspective, but to be more inclusive to just your birding community. And our big crusade is our thesis is that we have to educate the next generation of conservationists, and we have to come to kids on their level, which is technology, because so many kids these days don't have access to a duck blind. They don't have access to wetlands, but everyone has access to a computer. And so our premise is to make our website super interactive, and we're always getting better at it. A lot of lesson plans for teachers. We give free memberships to teachers. We got a bunch of schools already sign up. We let kids name the ducks, just to try and promote a love of waterfowl, amongst young people in hopes that as they grow, that grows with them. So we started this thing in 2.5 years ago, and it's come a long way. We built the back end, a lot of advanced, mapping stuff, technologies on our website. I had to figure out who was banding birds, how we kind of fit into that picture, and just been a learning experience. It's been a full-time job for me for a little more than a year now, about a year and a half. So we're learning as we grow, growing, getting a little traction on the social medias, just trying to spread the word and really just promote, a love for waterfowl. That's really what we're going for.
Yeah, that's great. That's a great goal, and I see you guys are making a lot of progress on that. So I tip my hat to you guys sticking it out and pushing for education, because, like you said, as the hunter numbers shrink, and let's face it, most of the conservationists in this country are hunters, and as that number
100%.
shrinks, we're going to need as many non-hunters as we can to
Right.
protect our waterfowl and the associated resources with them, for sure.
Well, you hit the nail on the head there. So much of wetlands conservation is done through Ducks Unlimited, through duck stump sales, the Pittman Robertson, through hunters, right? So much, and the thing you have to get people to understand is that hunting is conservation, and that it's to protect something, you have to first know about it, and once you know about it, you can care about it, and so that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to introduce a level of knowledge to people who wouldn't otherwise be exposed to it, to get them to care, for some of them to help protect it. And then for your duck enthusiast, it's the coolest thing in the world. You get to learn more about, duck hunting is a cult. If you're into it, you're into it. And so just trying to provide a resource that no one else is really providing to duck hunters. That's kind of where we are right now on the website. We got some big things planned for the fall, and just trying to be a new resource and, help everyone become more knowledgeable.
That's outstanding. Now, you mentioned finding people that are tagging the ducks. Walk us
Yes, sir.
through, where they're tagging them and how and what kind of equipment they're putting on those ducks.
Yeah, for sure. That's an open-ended question. There are people banding all over. Truly, there were some. Delta Waterfowl did a South Georgia, North Florida ringneck study. Right, they banded 200 ringnecks down there. University of Saskatchewan is leading a huge mallard study. Doug Osborne out of the University of Arkansas Monticello, Bradley Cohen, Tennessee Tech, California Waterfowl bands a tremendous amount of birds. So there are people in groups, colleges, organizations. Ducks Unlimited has their hands on a bunch of this, right? But for the most part with ducks, there are two main ways to do it. They have a backpack unit, which is somewhere between a 10 and a 20 gram unit. It's solar powered. You put it on the bird's back. You build a harness so it doesn't affect its flight. Put it on the bird, throw it in the air, flies away. That's how you do it. Rechargeable battery, all sorts of different settings with it. The devices they give you the altitude, flight speed, directional heading, the temperature, 3-axis acceleration, anything you can think from a data point that you can get off of a duck, these things are giving you. And then the statisticians who are doing these PhDs, they can deduce a tremendous amount more from the data, just from running through R Studio, through all these different coding languages, and they can do some really impressive stuff with it. A second way that people have started doing it is they're using implantable devices. So that requires veterinary procedures, but you will implant the tracker under the bird's skin, in a thought that maybe that would be a little less of an obstruction on the duck's life cycle than putting a backpack on. Because some birds you can't put a backpack on, like a cavity nesting bird, like a wood duck. You couldn't put a backpack on a wood duck because it would affect it trying to go in and out of a tree cavity. You can't put it on a diving duck because it'll affect their it's not aerodynamics, but you know what I'm trying to say. When they dive,
Right, right. It'll affect their
how they
swimming.
get.
Yeah.
Yeah, it'll affect them there. So there's some limitations to it for sure. The implantable devices kind of help you get around, some of those species. For geese, you put on a neck. It's you've seen a goose that's neck tagged. They have a couple different companies will make them, but it's a solar powered neck collar. Put it on a goose, and that's that, right? Same deal. And then these devices are the programmable. So, for example, some of the birds that we tagged this past December, we would get data points off of them every hour. You get 1 GPS an hour, and then the devices upload the data through the cell network, right? So there's a little limitation there. It'll try and upload through the cell towers twice a day. And if the duck is not in cell service, which a lot of a duck's life is spent where there is no cell service,
Sure.
it'll try again 12 hours later. And if it misses it then, it just continues to backlog data. And as soon as the duck is within self-service during a transmission range, you get whatever, 3 weeks data, 3 months data.
Right.
You get it all then. So that's kind of a real brief overview of how these devices work. We use devices from Ornatella. Is the company that we've been using last year or two.
So I imagine a lot of these ducks that you're tracking and the data that you tap into, this is all coming from other organizations. You're not 50 ducks isn't physically going out and banding all these birds that in your study.
We help to whatever extent that the researchers want me to get in their way in the field. I'm always happy to go. That's the fun part. It's getting in the field and getting your hands dirty. We provide an alternative fundraising source. We will provide these trackers to researchers who are interested in sharing the data. So it's kind of a win-win for everybody. The data that we broadcast to the public is it's super detailed, but it's also limited in that you cannot trophy hunt the ducks that we put a backpack on. We take some safety precautions there on our map. We have a historical map which has got a bunch of ducks that are no longer living, and you can see all sorts of. You can zoom in and see what tree branch a duck was on. You can see within 3 feet of where a duck was. But when a duck is living, there's a tremendous amount of data randomization, zoom in limitation, a little time delay, stuff like that. But you're right. We have a few partner organizations, and we're always looking for more. That we can just help provide some of this equipment to. It's very expensive. These devices are about $1,000 a piece before you get into data transmission fees. So we're just trying to be, an ally to the scientific and academic community and kind of repurpose a lot of this data.
Yeah, the reason I asked that question is I was kind of intrigued and impressed that, all these organizations and universities or whatever's doing the study, they're so willing to share their information with you guys and through to the public as well, which is pretty cool.
Right, and to some extent, yes. You run into some roadblocks there, and some people don't want to share the data, and that's perfectly fine. A lot of people are using it for this, that, and the other, and that's no problem there. And like I said, we're always looking for new organizations and new places who have new data that want to share it, and we try and be an ally and provide a value add to them. Like, we don't ever just come with our hands out, not bring anything in return. And right now we've got about 4 million data points on our website from a little over 500 birds from 16 species right now on our website. We've got another 10 million data points stored on our back end that we're slowly uploading. I've crashed our website 3 times, being really excitable, and just trying to put all the data on at once, which you can't do with 14 million data points. And so it's taken a good bit of time figuring out how to do that, but we figured it out now, and so we'll have it all up there by August 1st. And so we're slowly putting a little more on every week, and we'll have mallards in California. We'll have your Arkansas mallards. We'll have prairie pothole ducks, Canada geese, tundra swipe, you name it. We'll have it come August 1st, and so it's an exciting time to really get to dig into the weeds of a lot of bird movement patterns. Because so much, this answers so many of those questions that people have about are flyway shiftings, are ducks nocturnal, how fast does a duck fly, how high does a duck fly, right? Now you don't have to listen to anecdotal stuff or read an article. You can go to a map on your phone, on your computer, and you can play with it, and you can come to your own conclusions. And then we have a blog, and we're building a data center where it makes it a little more accessible as well. So
Yeah, very cool. So a lot of these studies, you have to wait a long time for them to get completed, but
mhm.
you guys actually have some real-time tracking. How does that work?
Well, so we will have some more real-time tracking come this fall. Have a tremendous amount of historical data now. We have a few ducks in the air, but we will release real-time tracking this fall on a grand scale. The goal is to have 50 ducks this fall that we are air quotes live streaming, right? So that the public can follow along with. And that's just we have to take a lot of precautionary measures so that these ducks don't get trophy hunted.
Sure.
But yeah, there is a lot of protection around data in the scientific community, and that's been a multi-year hurdle that we've just now started to get to the other side of, and there's still a tremendous amount of protection around it. But yeah, we will have 50 live ducks this fall that everybody can follow along on,
Okay.
and then we'll go from there. We'll expand from there. Hopefully, we'll have 1,000 or a couple hundred in a couple years, and the goal eventually would be just to be the data repository for anybody doing these studies
Right. Right.
down the road.
So if somebody's coming to your website
hmm
for the first time,
Yes,
how
sir.
would you kind of walk them through to where should they start?
Great question. The first thing you do is there's a play map on the first page. We got 5 ducks on there that kind of shows you to a limited capacity, what the map is, what our historical data tracker is. From there, there are buttons everywhere that say join the flock, subscribe here, duck map. You want to go to the duck map, right? Once you go there, there's all the duck data you could ever want to see. We sell the way we fund this and the way we help fund these studies is for anybody who is not a teacher. There's a membership fee. It's $5.99 a month right now, $59 for the year. Come the fall, once we have the live tracker, price is going up. It's going to be $99 for the year or $14.99 a month, right? So very reasonably priced thing. But you go to Duck Map, give us a little information, bam, you're there. And then there's some tutorial videos on there how to play with it. And then I just suggest you play with it yourself. Anything you don't like, you send me an email, and we'll try and help you figure it out. But
Yeah, it's interesting that you offer that to the teachers. Have you had quite a good response to that from teachers around the country?
we have, and we provide a tremendous amount, or I say tremendous amount. We provide some plug and play resources for teachers with lesson plans. We partnered with Rocky Point Bird Observatory, which is in British Columbia, and they, with our data and with some of their faculty, we built the Duck Detectives lessons plan, which is it's a really interactive, fun game for middle and lower schoolers. This whole thing is a built-in science project, right? So we've had a pretty good response so far with teachers. And like I said, we let the kids name ducks. We let classrooms name a duck, so you have some ownership in it, which can really get some kids. I mean, you don't have to care anything about a duck to know that, Summit Charter School and Cashers, North Carolina, Miss Quack Quack, right? That's your duck, and you can feel like that's pretty cool, and you want to log on and see what that duck's doing, and you're learning while you do it. You don't even know you're doing it. So the teacher angle of the whole thing has been by far the most successful so far. We've had a very good response with that.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So are you breaking it down by, spring migration, fall migration, or seasonal? How are you guys kind of going throughout the year breaking down that data?
What do you mean?
As far as like how you're presenting it, are you presenting it all at once on the website, or do you have like a pattern that you follow
I
throughout the
see.
year?
Yeah, so the way it's broken down right now is every duck, goose, swan that's on the map, right? And we've got eiders in the Arctic. We've got Eurasian teal. We've got Japanese pintail on this map right now, right? Um, each duck has a little icon. You click on the icon, and then it gives you that whole duck's life cycle, as well as some fun, some flight speed, altitude, some fun, extraneous points as well. So right now it's a map. You have a map that's just, here is everything. Dig into it, get after it, right? The live tracker, of course, is a lot fewer birds, and so it's more where are the ducks today, right?
Okay.
It's, we banded 15 birds in South Dakota. 6 of them are still in South Dakota. 9 of them are going south. We're building a data center right now, which will have a little bit more of the technical side of it, where you can, it through spreadsheets. If you are a spreadsheet type of guy, you can
Sure.
play with it a little bit more once we get that up and running. But you're right, presenting 4 million data points for 500 birds is challenging to make it both accessible and in depth. And so that's a challenge that we're working through right now, and especially once we put another 10 million data points and 1,100 birds, and once we have the live ones on there too. It's a tremendous amount of data, and so how you present that to people, obviously, is the main thing that we're trying to figure out the best way to do that.
Sure. Yeah, there was a lot of data that came out just on some of your Instagram posts that just blew me away. What do you think was the most surprising thing that you've learned since you've been keeping up with this data?
It's fun to do those Instagram posts, and it's fun to to get into, to run it through R, to look at the data sheets through Excel, and to see how fast the birds move. That's the thing that's really blown me away.
Me too.
We've had some birds. We had a shoveler banded by one of our partner organizations in Mexico, Tierra Davis. Manuel Grossolet is their president and has become a good friend of mine, who is as renowned a bird bander in North America as there is. He holds a master bander permit in Mexico, Canada, and the United States, which is quite an accomplishment. He banded a northern shoveler a couple years ago. We were going through its data, and that bird clocked in at 102 miles an hour when it was coming through Texas. And a lot of that is they get up into, in the jet streams, and they have huge tailwinds, of course. But I mean, it's moving. Its ground speed's 102. And a duck can cover some ground when they're doing that. The distance that they can travel in a day, we've done the height that they go to. Some of these birds are at 16,000 feet. We had some birds banded by Tierra Davis that were in Mexico City, which has a good bit of altitude, already. They were leaving at about 7,000 feet in elevation, but they still climbed another 10,000 feet, right? And so when they're at sea level in Texas, they're 17,000 feet above the ground, which is, if you had told me that before we got into that, I would have told you, that's ridiculous.
I agree. Yeah.
Yeah. Right. And it is, but it's pretty neat. Their resilience, the distances they travel, and they often travel pretty similar paths year in and year out. We've got 50 tundra swans that the USGS banded in 2010, 2011, 2012 that are on the map, and the tundra swans have become my favorite of everything. We had a tundra swan, there's a tundra swan on the map that traveled 30,000 miles over 3 years, and it traveled from Alaska to the Outer Banks, and it went the same way basically for 3 straight years.
Jeez.
It's just, they're incredible, and how they do it is a mystery, but it's fascinating.
Sure. What's the longest amount of data you've gotten? How many years? It's got the record.
The geese, and keep in mind, we're pretty early on in this thing. The first year we spent just fumbling around trying to figure out how to build the back end for the website in a way where you could present data, where your ducks couldn't be trophy hunted, where I would not just crash it every time I got excited. So that took a while. But the geese, some of the geese that other organizations have tagged will outlive the trackers.
Okay.
I mean, they'll live. These trackers, the net collars have a lifespan of about 4 or 5 years, and some of the geese will outlive that. The swans will outlive the collars too. The ducks, about the longest that we've seen from a duck is 3 seasons, 3 years. And some of that could be, your backpack your tracker failing, but about 3 years. And if you look at the guys like Cohen, who's out of Tennessee Tech, the Cohen Lab, and Doug Osborne, they do a good job on Instagram too of sharing a lot of this data. Um, I haven't seen anything from them, or I haven't seen many, if any, ducks that they have that have done more than 3 seasons. So that's about your limit. And bigger ducks handle the backpacks a little better as well. Like it's easier for a mallard to have a backpack than a teal. Use different size ones, of course.
Sure.
But it's just a little easier for the bigger birds.
Yeah, it's amazing the technology every year. Everything gets smaller and lighter, and
It's
to be
crazy.
able to put that on a light bird, it's already fairly light to begin with. That's impressive.
It is, and the standard that you try and keep below is 3% of a bird's body weight. So to put a 10 gram tracker on a teal, the teal needs to weigh 300 grams. Um, and so yeah, that's kind of the threshold you're looking for. But yeah, it's crazy the how much better these trackers have gotten since some of this data started being published in the early 2000s. Just the amount of the accuracy of it. Having speedometers on, speedometer is the wrong word, but being able to calculate speed off of these things, the altitude, all that stuff. It's just, I mean, it's mind. But soon you'll be able to strap a camera. I mean, literally to a camera to
Yeah.
a goose in flight and just live stream that, which will be fascinating when that happens.
Sure would be. So besides working with teachers and
Mhm.
hunters, what else are you guys doing to kind of bring more of the community in to learning about the conservation?
Well, the teacher crusade's a really big one. We go to a bunch of DU banquets, try and spread the word there. We go on as many podcasts as I can, and then we spread the word through social media. Spent a tremendous amount of time, getting the website where it'll appear, on Google search terms. So just trying to. Our website is about 70 pages of resource right now, and it's everything from your cheesy join 50 ducks now to really in-depth blogs about duck movement, teacher resources, the duck maps, kind of our story. And so driving traffic to our website really tells the story as well as we think you can so far, by writing it. And we're always trying to improve that. But just trying to spread awareness that way through the website, through our social medias. Anybody that'll listen to me, I'll talk your ear off about it too.
So somebody comes to your website and they decide to subscribe
Yes, sir.
and help you out that way. What else can they be doing besides writing a check? When they're not on your website, what else can they be doing to help you out or help out the movement with the funding and
I think
spreading the word?
Yeah, I think spreading the word is the thing. A tremendous amount of the money that we raise goes right back into these studies, goes right back to our partner organizations. We're partnered with a great group up in Canada, Jack Miner. I don't know if you know the story of Jack Miner. Those guys in Kingsville, Ontario. But we have a bunch of partner organizations that we're trying to help get these studies off the ground. And so, subscribing, joining the email list, joining the socials, just telling people about what we're trying to do here. That's great. And then just being an ally in wetlands conservation, predator control, because we have a wetlands problem. Despite all the good work that's being done by places like Ducks and Luna, we're still losing wetlands every year. It's still a net loss every year. And so how do you turn the tide there, right? And that's what we're trying to do. And we think it comes from a place of knowledge, which brings people to care. And so we're just trying to spread a knowledge that ducks are cool, ducks are magical, and it's a lot more than just that, because they affect a lot of people's lives really deeply. And so that's kind of the message we're trying to spread.
For sure. So, it's besides kind of like the hard data with the speed and the uh, elevation that they're flying and where they're flying, is there any other data that these researchers are pulling from these data points?
They do. The data that you can get and the stuff these researchers do, I mean, they get to talking about it, and you read some of their published papers, and you got to read the abstract 3 times to even know what you're going to read about. So yes, they can do unbelievable stuff about ground level ecology and how crop distribution affects, migratory patterns. The guys, for example, the guys up in at Jack Miner, they're in the permitting process right now, and Essex County, Ontario, is where Jack Miner is. It's about 60 miles east of Detroit, is where they are. It's the greenhouse farming capital of North America. They got about 5,000 acres of greenhouse farms. And these greenhouse farms emit a tremendous amount of light at night. Kingsville, Ontario emits 3 times as much light as Detroit.
Wow.
For a city that's about 20th the size, right? So they put off a tremendous amount of light. And they're trying to do a study to see if that light has an effect on migratory bird behaviors. And so they, using R and these different coding languages and the data that you get off these trackers, you can build a bounding box around each of the greenhouses, and you can see how the bird behaves in that area versus not in that area, and make some make some deductions from that. So yeah, you can get a bunch of stuff just from these GPS points that these ducks are doing.
It's really fascinating. It's a big rabbit hole to jump down. And earlier you mentioned you've got a blog on the website as well.
Yes,
it's pretty extensive. I jumped on there off and on the last couple of weeks since we talked, and I haven't even scratched the surface there.
No, and there's some of those blog posts are more just trying to get your interested reader to come to the website. Won't lie to you there, a little advertising.
Sure.
And then some of them are super in depth, and then some of them are pretty written for a 6th grader. And so you kind of get a good mix of it on the blog. We've got a tremendous amount more of them written and that we're writing, that we're slowly putting out. We have a bunch of resources. I think we've got 15 resource pages now on the website of just different materials kind of geared to different groups of people, right? And so we're trying to become a duck HQ, so to speak, for your interested parties, whoever those may be.
Sure. Yeah, that's a big part of it. Like you said, just trying to get as many eyes and as many people interested as you can.
Right.
What kind of is there much funding that you can get from the government, or is the majority of this coming from private individuals?
100% of 50 Ducks so far has been funded out of my pocket. It's 100%. It's 100% privately funded at this point. That's not to say that if we got some government funding, we would turn our nose up at it at all.
Sure.
Not saying that at all. But there is funding is the limiting factor for bird banding facilities across North America, right? And so we're not competing with those guys for grant funding at all, right? That's set aside for them. That's great. But so many of these organizations just can't get it. There's not enough to go around. And so we're coming at it from a private sector, perspective, right? And you can leverage private money. You can leverage our donations through existing grants, and you can leverage that money, and get government matches. But we do not. 50 Ducks has no government funding whatsoever.
Okay. So what's next for 50 Ducks? Is there anything that you're going to be adding? I know you mentioned the real-time tracking. Is there any other things on the horizon that we could look forward to?
For sure. The real-time tracking this fall, I hope will make a big splash. It will be super fun to watch, even if the ducks are not near you. Our hope is that within the next couple of years, we will have ducks in all 4 major flyways all year long, so that you can just at any point, any given day, you can say, I wonder where some ducks are. You can go look. You can go see. And so that's our first, or I guess that's our next big step. From there, sky's the limit. We'll see where it takes us after that, whether it takes us into predictive modeling. The data center, I think the data center will be super cool too, trying to break down these map movements into like hard numbers, where the casual observer can play science. But really what I want to turn this into is the largest citizen science project since the adaptation of the aluminum leg band. My hope for 50 Ducks is that this becomes a nationwide thing where you can point to it and use it as a resource to get people excited the same way people get excited about seeing a banded bird now. That's my hope. That would be a slam dunk home run if we can do that. But I'm optimistic about it, and I believe in it wholeheartedly. You know, so much so that it's become a full-time job, and it's cost, a good bit of money to this point to try and get it off the ground. So,
Sure. And since you've been involved in tracking any of these through 50 ducks, have you ever had any taken by hunters?
yes, we have. Some of our partner organizations, Tierra Davis, that bans them, all in Mexico. Mexico, they're a nonprofit down there. They've had a few taken by hunters, and a lot of hunters are super great because they have your name and a phone number laser etched on the side of them.
Right.
So you can call the number. If I killed a duck with a phone number on it, I would certainly call that number and see what happened, see who
Absolutely.
answered. And we'll mail you a replica tracker. So if you want to mount the duck with the tracker, I fully understand that. It's a super cool once in a lifetime deal. We'll mail you the tracker that doesn't have the battery inside.
Yeah.
And if you'll mail us that one back, we can reuse it. And for the most part, everyone's been super great with that. We've had one or two people, tell you that they don't have your tracker when I can, look at the computer and say, well, it's in your living room. You live in a 2-bedroom house, and it's in your living room. I assume this is your living room.
Yeah.
So
Yep.
it's tough to lie to somebody when they have a GPS tracker that you have in your house. But
Sure.
that has only happened once, and that's, I don't begrudge them that much for that either. But
Right. Well,
yep.
hopefully that's one and only time it'll happen.
And if it's not, that's fine. But like I said, for the most part, you mail us that one back, we'll mail you another one. We'll give you a
That's
free
cool.
lifetime membership to the website as well. And super excited that you've killed such a cool trophy, right? So
Sure.
I'm not oblivious to that fact either.
Right. Well, we covered some education and some funding and kind of the nuts and bolts of the program.
Mhm.
Is there anything else that I missed that you might want to share with the listeners?
No, just that we're coming. We're coming at this from a deep admiration and place of love from waterfowl. Like I said, it's a cult, and there's just a tremendous amount of people who spend their lives thinking about it, obsessing about them, and just wanting to hunt ducks, wanting to see ducks, wanting to see ducks in the air. What I would tell, and I'm the same way. Like I had a real bloodlust, and I enjoy duck hunting. Since I've actually gotten to handle some birds and hold them in my hand, I would welcome anybody that's listening to this to get in touch with your local DU chapter. They're always looking for volunteers for your banding operations. We're just putting on a leg band, and if you've never done it before, to hold a live duck in your hand, it's really cool, and it's a different experience as opposed to we've all held them in the blind and been super stoked to kill a pintail with a great sprig, and just but it's really neat to see one from the trapping to the holding to the banding to the release. It kind of puts the whole thing in a new perspective. So I would welcome or challenge everyone to be involved in that and to try it one time.
Excellent. Do you have a favorite hunt that you've been on, or maybe a favorite hunting story? It doesn't have to be yours. Maybe something somebody told you.
Man, there are a lot of them. I can give you some least favorite hunts for sure, but
Yeah, let's go there.
we've been well. I don't know if we're going down that rabbit hole, but no, I've been blessed to get to duck hunt in a lot of really cool places. Like I say, we go to Venice every year, which I really enjoy because we do the cast and blast. I really like to fish as well. This past year we were in Nielsburg, Saskatchewan, and it was unreal. We were there 4 days, and killed light geese, dark geese, ducks. And the part of it that I really enjoy is doing it with my dad, and doing it with my family. And so just any time that we can, we go on a couple trips a year, and it's just that's the part of it that's super fun and rewarding to me more than in an individual hunt, I guess.
Sure. Well, I've got some rapid fire questions for you if you're up
Fi-
for it.
Fire them away, as long as we're not going to play gotcha.
No, none of that.
Okay.
What's your favorite waterfowl?
Mallard.
Good answer.
Or
It's a pretty
pintail,
popular
mallard or
one.
pintail, top two.
Yeah, I'm with you on that one.
hmm
What's your favorite waterfowl recipe?
I like to make them. I like to make a popper. I like to cut them up,
Yeah,
wrap a piece of bacon, jalapeno cream cheese with pepper jelly.
can't go wrong with that.
Mm-mm.
What's your favorite shotgun?
Super Black Eagle. Got a Super Black Eagle I really like. Shoot a
Nice.
Nova too, but it'll beat your shoulder up.
Yeah.
hmm
What's your favorite snack in the duck blind?
Those peanut butter crackers that come in the bag,
Mm.
come in the little pack of six. That's the go-to.
Oh yeah. Do you prefer hunting lakes, marshes, or rivers?
It's the most fun to see them come into the flooded timber, like the
Mm.
Arkansas deal.
Heck yeah.
Cypress Pond. I'm partial to the Cypress Pond too. We got a piece of land in Perry where we hunt in the Cypress Pond. It's fun to see them come through the trees.
Very cool. How many decoys do you use on an average hunt?
As few as possible.
Nice.
As few as possible.
Would you prefer to take a boat, kayak, or walk in?
I'm prone to flip a Piro or a canoe at the drop of a hat. So we go walk in. The dry field hunting, I said that about the timber. The dry field hunting, it's got a lot of pros to that as well.
Absolutely.
So I'm gonna go walk in.
Okay. And what's your favorite place that you've ever waterfowl hunted?
Man, that's tough to say. That place we used to have in Macon, I-16, that I wrote one of our first blogs about. It was Beaver Ponds. It was in the floodplains in Macon. Man, that place was special. Had a lot of sentimental value there. We had some good hunts in Hydro, Oklahoma. Nielsburg, Saskatchewan this past year. Man, Venice. It's tough to pick one, but those would be some of the top ones.
Okay. Well, you passed, man. Good job on the rapid fires.
I appreciate it. I tried to slow you down at times so I could think a little bit more about them.
That's all right.
I like that. Your favorite shotgun. We were on a goose hunt. Where were we? We were somewhere in Missouri. And you know how those goose hunts can be. They come in the big groups, right? And you might only stand up and shoot 3-4 times, right?
Right.
Side up, go off. Frustrated. Hour later, geese come in, sit up. Gun didn't go off again, right? So we left. That day, I went to a Bass Pro Shop and bought a gun that I knew would go off every time. So I bought one of those Supernovas. And it goes off every single time, but it will beat your shoulder up. But you
Yeah.
can't shoot a 3.5 inch shell out of it. But if you're trying to shoot a 3.5 inch shell, the duck's probably too far away. Those geese are too far away if you need a 3.5 inch shell. But sometimes you get a little tempted with it.
For sure.
Yeah.
Well, Greer, I really appreciate you taking the time to come on and sharing your organization and your mission with us. Take a moment and let our listeners know where they can find you and where they can follow you and anything else you want to mention.
Absolutely. I appreciate it, Brian. It's been a great talk. Always excited to talk to another enthusiast, another person who devotes a tremendous amount of their time and their life to this. So I appreciate you. You can follow us. 50 Ducks North America is the Instagram. Do a lot of fun posts on there. 50 Ducks is a Facebook page as well. If you go to 50ducks.com, 50ducks.com. You can check out the website. If you don't want to get a membership, no problem. But join the email list. Send out some pretty cool weekly stuff there, informational stuff there. And then, we're doing pre-sales right now where you can get all this fun map data from the historical map, 4 million data points for $5.99 a month right now. Price is going up in the fall when we have these this fun live stream. So go ahead and get it now.
Sure appreciate that. Everybody get out there, check out 50 Ducks. Not even as expensive as the coffee you buy every day. So get your credit card out, subscribe, and check out what they got going on over there for sure.
For sure. I don't want to compete with coffee because I couldn't take that out of my life, but it's cheaper than a lot of the stupid stuff that people buy these days. So, but let's not compare it with coffee.
Well, thanks, Greer. Really appreciate it.
Appreciate it, Brian.
Take care.
Yes, sir.